what I would request is for Varunjai to please try and briefly read, because I know that there was a challenge there. If you could pass the mic. It's our good pleasure that Varunjai, who is Balrajji's grandson and Parikshitji's son, he's here with us. His work, his painting is there in the gallery also downstairs, his abstract work, which is based on his emotions when he went to Russia, trying to retrace the steps of his father when he was studying there. So Varunjai, without any more time, please.
Hello. I'll be reading the encounters with the supernatural.
You see, that was a leftist. He was a card holder of the Communist Party. And he felt that the Soviet Union, that time it was the USSR, you know. Now it's different. At that time he felt that is a look into the future, Russia, and the right place to go to for studies. And I've heard so much about Russia, all through my childhood, you know, Soviet Union, the best country in the world, the people are the best in the world. And Bishop Sahni Saab, he had a job in Moscow as a translator. And so since he was also there, I decided to go and have a look for myself. I went to the USSR just because of that. After finishing my, after St. Stephen's College, I did my BA there in English literature, and I went to Russia after that. And
the supernatural. Right. The Golden Autumn. This is loud enough. As it is called in Leningrad. When we arrived there, was breathtakingly beautiful. I had seen autumns in Moscow and even some autumns in Kashmir, where the chinars turn golden yellow, but I had never seen an autumn as beautiful as this. The wonder of the surroundings and the monuments I had seen, the places, the palaces, the art gallery, the architecture of the city, left the mind in a whirl. I had been in a similar state as when I visited Ajanta and Ellora caves with Dad and Mummy. A surfeit of beauty intoxicated the mind. Beauty is God's handwriting, as Emerson said. The intoxication reached mystical proportions one evening when we were taken to see the Swan Lake, performed by Kirov Ballet Ensemble. The beauty of the stage settings and the excellence of the dancers were mind-blowing. The music of Tchaikovsky was eternal. Marina Nikolaevna happened to be sitting next to me during the performance, and in the darkness, her vicinity doubled my heartbeat. I was reading the autobiography of Rousseau in those days and had been impressed by the theory of the natural man, as imposed to the behavior that society imposes upon a man who is forced to curb the natural instinct. I was, you must remember, a thoroughly spoiled brat. My natural instinct at the moment was to touch Marina. At the cost of being slapped or being taken liberties of the professor, I decided to give a theory of Rousseau a shot. I pressed my elbow gently against her. She took a sharp breath, but did not turn her face away from me. And then she gently pressed her elbow back in return. Our shoulders touched. My next impulse was to kiss her, but on her side sat comrade Novosudov. I thought kissing her would be crossing a Rubicon. However, unable to control myself, and under the influence of Rousseau, Tchaikovsky's music thumbing my blood, I bent close to her ear, as though I wanted to say something to her, and when I was close enough, I kissed gently. I felt a shudder run through her body. I smelled her perfume, and along with the music and the love story being played before us, it made a heady mix. She began to breathe heavily. We were pressed against one another for a while, and then gently disengaged and stole a furtive look at me and smiled. I was in seventh heaven. I looked around. The eyes of the rest of the students were riveted to the stage. No one had noticed what I had done in the dark. When the show was over, something strange happened. Beauty is indeed enthralling. My head was spinning as we exited the theatre. I finally understood that Shakespeare meant when he wrote, "If music is the food of love, play on." The overture of Swan Lake began to ring in my head, and the perfume of Marina seemed to be wafting towards me from every direction. When we returned to the hotel, and I had supper with my classmate, Tchaikovsky was still ringing in my ears. I tried and decided to turn in immediately after the dinner, but I could not sleep. I felt though as I was sitting close to the orchestra and it was playing over and over again. I tried my best to get the music and Marina out of my system, but I just couldn't. The ringing of the overture in my head became louder, and I thought about the softness of Marina's body when I touched her and when I kissed her ear. I tossed and turned until long past midnight, and then, on an impulse, I put on my clothes, donned my cap, and put my light autumn overcoat and left the room. I walked out of the hotel, and on the deserted street, hoping that chilly walk would get the music and the memory of the kiss out of my head, once and for all. Instead, the music rang louder, and the smell of her perfume seemed emanating from every nook and corner of Leningrad. This was close to the white nights, a common phenomena close to the Arctic Circle. It does not get dark during the night, and there is enough light even at the midnight for a man to read a book. The sky was overcast. There was a slight drizzle, and it was cold outside. I walked on the great Russian composer, still conducting his orchestra in my hand. Cold and confused and walking on in a daze, I became suddenly aware of trilling sounds coming from just around the corner. A choir was singing midnight mass. I was surprised to hear church music at this time of the night, and I started walking towards it. I came upon an old church, its interior brightly lit. I walked in. The church was ornate and beautiful only as Russian Orthodox churches can be. I sat down in one of the pews. I tried to concentrate on the Troy music in order to get rid of the Swan Lake overture, still ringing in my head. I sat silently for a while. One of my problems has been that I think too much. Something that Eckhart Tolle says it is not good and should be avoided. But I was distraught. My mind was in turmoil. Why the hell couldn't I get the music and the memory of Marina's perfume out of my head? I walked out of the church to loaf around some more. But just then I saw a graveyard right in front of the church. I noticed in the strange filtered light of the autumn night that in the graveyard stood incredibly beautiful and innate tombstones, topped by statues and spectacular crypts. I walked into the graveyard admiring the statues of angels and captivating figures. I got tired, and as I walked around, the overture began to ring louder and louder. I was getting fed up and decided to sit down with my back on one of the gravestones and relax for a while. I must have sat there for an hour and a half, struggling still with the memory of Marina and the music. When I heard the sound of somebody's feet coming toward me, I was shocked to see Novosudovo and Marina and two cops on their way to me in a hurry. What's the matter with you? This sort of thing is not normal. It is against the rules. You are a foreign student and we are supposed to look after you. You can't walk out of the hotel just like that in the middle of the night. If something were to happen to you, we would have been responsible, he said. And why are you sitting with your back against the grave? Why did you come into a graveyard anyways? What's wrong with you? Marina added, looking more concerned than angry. I can't get the music out of my head and other things, I merely replied. The cops were amused. What is Tchaikovsky has to do with this? One of them asked. We were taken to the theatre to see the Swan Lake Ballet this evening. The overture keeps running in my head. It's maddening. I'm going to get it out of my head. The foursome looked at one another, puzzled. Is that why you chose to sit here? Asked Marina. That was one of the reasons. Beside, I was tired and I was walking around all that long. Do you know where you're sitting? I'm sitting on a grave. Do you know whose grave is it? Marina asked. No, I answered. Why don't you look around at the name of the gravestone? Marina said. Look at it carefully. I did so. It was the grave of Tchaikovsky. At the end, and it was surrounded by the graves of other great composers of Russia. I was stunned. Surely you came here for a purpose, Marina said. No, I did not. Then it is very strange, she said, looking at me. You Indians are strange. Yes, it was strange. The whole occurrence bordered on the supernatural. What had led to me to the grave of Tchaikovsky, whose music was ringing in my head with such maddening intensity all night? And why did Marina had to come just then? However, I was not allowed to sit there anymore. I wanted to be left alone, if not entirely alone, then at least the company of Marina. But that was not to be.
For him to have read your book itself, it's very, very, and you know what kind of a sensitive person he is. I think the question that was to be, जी.
If you remember,
परीक्षा जी, आपने मैंने पढ़ा इस चैप्टर को भी पढ़ा है. I have, and you have written that Marina was a teacher of scientific atheism. ये जो वैज्ञानिक नास्तिकता है, उस घटना के बाद आपके भीतर साइंटिफिक एथेइज्म की कुछ बचा या अभी भी आप एथेइस्ट हैं, क्या हैं? थोड़ा उसके बाद का क्या हुआ मैं जानना चाहता हूँ.
क्या? I'm sorry.
Are you an atheist after that incident or did you change?
No, that I didn't. At that moment, of course, Dad was a confirmed atheist, you know, my father. And that's what he taught me right through childhood. But of course, right now it's not like that. I am a very God-fearing man, and I believe sorry, but I do believe in the one God, not 4 or 5 gods. Like, and I tell that to my Muslim friends, that there are not 4 or 5 gods, one with a beard and one with a choti and one with a long Muslim beard and one a Brahmin with the tilak and all that. There's only one God, and I believe in him. Yes, I do. I'm that God very bad.
Thank you. Thanks,
My
Varun. I think you.
My question would be: did he still has contact with Marina?
yeah, this is what.
In fact,
Did you still have the contact with Marina ever? I mean,
connect with Marina?
did you connect with her?
Ever?
He says, "मैं किसी के
yeah, I did once or twice. But then when I got so busy with my work here that I've written about it. I've been influenced a great deal by the Jews, you know. The Shuvah, they call it, regret and forgiveness. Whatever you see in Christianity, and my whole family turned Christian. My daughters, 2 daughters, and my wife turned Christian. I did, but I think that the Jews are a fairly good. I like the way they think. They believe in Teshuvah, which is the repentance. And I try to repent what I've done but to no avail. Of course, I couldn't go back. Although I promised Galia that I'd come back. And she waited for me. And until I got the message that she had unfortunately got cancer and passed away. Cancer was very common in Russia at that time. Both my cameraman, Volodya, Mezhekov, he died young of cancer, and Galia died young of cancer.
Thank you, Parikshitji. Not easy to talk about relationships that stay in the past, and somehow it becomes difficult to reach out to them again also, and then somehow there is no opportunity to reach out to them anymore. So I can empathize with you. Thanks, Varun. It's not easy, I know, reading your father's words. Thank you so much.